I'm Jose Rivera. This is my wife, Claudia Rivera.
Hello.
And our story begins in New York when I used to work at the Twin Towers. I was working on the 92nd floor. Growing up, I always wanted to join the military, but I had some times where it was hard for me to get into the military. But I started working for the Twin Towers back in 2000. I was working in the law firm as a mail clerk in the 92nd floor, and I worked with my cousin, and we were getting ready to go to work that day on September 11th. And on our way to work, we take the 7 o'clock express train, and I realized that when we left the house, I had left my badge at home, so I had to run home and go get my badge and in order for me to get into the office. So my cousin ended up leaving ahead of me, and I caught the next train, which was the local train, to work that day. So right when we were getting to work, the train stopped in the middle of the Chamber Street station in the city under the towers, and they were telling us that we had to leave and get out of the train. There was an emergency happening, so while we were climbing up through the middle of the subway into the exit shaft that was there, as soon as I came out of the subway, I got hit in the head with some debris. There was people carrying me from the subway exit. I was in and out of conscience. While I was in and out of conscience, I was seeing a bunch of people just running around, people getting trampled. I saw a little girl who actually was on the floor crying, and it was just pictures that kept on coming in and out because I was just in and out of conscience, as I stated. Finally, I was knocked out. When I woke up, I ended up in the hospital at Lutheran Medical Center, and first thing that came to my mind was, what's happening? What's going on? Where's my cousin? And my family didn't know where he was at. They were trying to call him. They were trying to message him. He wouldn't respond. There was no response from him. Weeks later, they ended up finding a finger of his, which is where they was able to identify who he was and identify by his finger that he was in the rubble. My passion to join the Marine Corps started very young, very early, but after 9/11, that just made my passion stronger. I wanted to join the Marine Corps just to, in all reality, I was looking for revenge for what happened to my cousin. I was trying to protect the ones that I loved, and for what they did to this country where I've lived my entire life. It was a push for me to join the Marine Corps even more. In 2003, I joined the Marine Corps. I went to Paris Island, where I started my boot camp career. Started my boot camp courses there. And at boot camp, I trained for 8 weeks. Went into MOS. My MOS was Infantry 0311. I wanted to be in the front lines. I wanted to be there to, get the revenge, to release the anger and the revenge that I had in my heart, I guess, for what was happening and what happened to my cousin and my family. And so as soon as I graduated boot camp, I went to Camp Geiger, where I went to MOS school, infantry school. And while I was at infantry school, was there for 8 weeks, did another couple, Marine Corps training. From there, I ended up my first deployment to Iraq. I got picked up in 2005 with 1-2. I ended up going to Iraq at my first deployment, to where it was met my first unit and all that. Came back from that deployment 6 months later. Then got deployed again in 2006 to 2008, which was my second pump to Iraq, where is when I got blown up in 2007. When I got blown up, my ankle actually inverted up, my shoulder popped out. I was medevaced to Al-Assad. From there, I was medevaced to Germany, where I underwent reconstruction surgery to try to do limb salvaging for my ankle. I got some shoulder surgery where they were able to put it back in. And then from there, came back to the States, went through medical treatment. I was able to salvage my leg after at that time was my 7th surgery. So I had to go through 7 surgeries before I was able to go back to active duty, which I kept on continuing serving in the Marine Corps for another 10 years after that. Throughout the process of being in the Marine Corps, I ended up going through another 9 surgeries, I believe. 9-10 surgeries, I believe I went through just to continue, because I kept on damaging my ankle. And so I was able to serve and continue to serve even after the explosion, where I was able to serve in an administrative capacity. I became the operations chief, deployed over to Iraq and Afghanistan again. And then upon returning my last year in the Marine Corps, I was stationed in San Antonio, Texas in the Wounded Warrior Battalion, where again I was the operations chief there, and I was serving in an administrative capacity. In 2019, I ended up inverting my ankle again, in 2021, I inverted my ankle again after the retirement, and then my ankle, one of the anchors ripped from my tendon, ripped out of from my ankle and tore through my tendon. At that point, they realized that they couldn't save my ankle, so that's when they decided to do the amputation in 2022. How I came to find out about Helping a Hero was through, there was a group that I was attending. It was a Christian-based group where it helps first responders, veterans, active duty military, deal with PTSD systems and anger issues and to that nature. A guy named Preston was leading the group, and he introduced me to JP, Justin Lane, and because I had freshly just got my amputation and I was very scared and I didn't know, how to take care of my amputation, what I needed to do. I was very nervous, and Preston introduced me to JP, where I was able to connect with him, and JP was just telling me everything, what I needed to do, how to treat my amputation, how to clean it, how to keep it, good so it doesn't catch an infection and all that. And through the time conversating hours and days and weeks talking to JP of the amputation, how to take care of myself, he introduced me to an organization called Helping a Hero. He asked me, hey, do you have a home, an adaptive home? And I was like, no, I don't have an adaptive home. We have our house here, it's 2 stories, and it's really hard for me to get around. He's like, have you ever heard of this organization? I was like, no, I had never heard of this organization. So he's like, I'm gonna nominate you for a house. I was like, okay, that's amazing. I was like, nominate me for a house, what does that mean? He's like, well, I'm gonna put your name in, and you're going to get you're gonna get phone calls. This organization is gonna help you help you get into a home that's gonna help meet your needs in an adaptive way. And I was like, oh, okay, that's awesome, thank you so much. So after weeks and a couple of weeks of just talking all that, he submitted my name into the organization, and at that point, I received a call from Meredith, and she was explaining to me, she wanted to know my story. She wanted to know, what happened, how did I get, how did the amputation happen? And at that time, we were still freshly new. My wife was just trying to help me get through the amputation, and we really were just trying to understand the process. And I told the story, and she's like, that's awesome, so we want to put you in for the house. And we were like, okay, that's great. So we expected to take about a year or 2 before we even decide, before we even get nominated for the house or even get a house. And just about 2 months into the process, we get a call, the call was, hey, can you come out to North Carolina? We are, there's Richard Childers is having an event, a gala, and we want you to come out to the gala and, the NASCAR racing and go to the NASCAR museum. I was like, yeah, of course, yeah, I would love to go. So I ended up going to North Carolina. When I got to North Carolina, we get to go to the museum, we get to see everything, and then that same night we go to the gala. So at the gala, we were meeting all these builders. We got to meet Richard Childers, we got to meet Lee Greenwood, Johnny Morris, and we got to meet them all. And they sit me on my table, and at the table, Jimmy Jacobs is there, and he's introducing himself to myself and another friend of mine, Sebastian, and he was like, hey, he introduced himself to Sebastian first. He's like, I'm supposed to build your house, and then he came over and like, I might build your house. I was like, oh, that's exciting. Thank you. At this time, I didn't know that I was getting nominated for the house at that point, and I was just like, oh, that'd be amazing. It's gonna be a long way away, but it'll be nice to work with you, We go through the gala, and then I called my wife on the phone because they were just giving a key on the video chat. They were giving the key over to another veteran, and I was like, look, babe, this is what we're gonna go through when we have our thing. And right when I say that, they call my name out. Staff Sergeant Rivera, we're presenting you with your key. We were like, wait, what? Throughout the process, I'm like, man, I was just talking to Jimmy about the house, and it's gonna be like, I thought we were gonna wait years. And so once we got, once we got on stage and they did the whole process, I got, again, introduced myself to Jimmy, and Jimmy's like, man, I can't wait to start working with you. Jimmy Jacobs is, again, an amazing guy. He's a funny dude. I definitely got to talk to him for a while, and I was able to, he talked to me about his, what he does, and his building career and his vision on what he had planned for us. And I was just so excited to, begin the work process. So again, we were told then it was going to be like 45 days to the groundbreaking ceremony, and we're like, okay, we got time. And then Jimmy calls.
Like 2 weeks later.
2 weeks later, he's like, hey, so your groundbreaking is gonna be in June. And we're like, wait, what? We start looking at each other, and he's like, yeah, your groundbreaking ceremony is gonna happen June 27th. We wanna meet you and your family. And I'd be like, oh man, we were just taken by shock. We were like, oh my God, this is really happening. So we got to meet, a couple of days later, we met up with Jimmy. We went and his wife. We went to go have lunch with them. The kids were in California at the time on vacation, so they didn't get to meet Jimmy at that point. But we got to meet with him for lunch, and we just started talking. And he introduced me to the area where they were going to plan the building, which is the Grand Endeavors. And he was like, well, this is the new company, and this is where we built it from, and this is our vision for you, and these are our plans for you. And we were just like taken back by all this. We were just like, oh my God, this is so amazing. We still couldn't believe it was happening. She was more shocked than I was. She just kept on like, no, this is not happening. This is not happening. But, we got to speak to Jimmy, and throughout the process, Jimmy was just very communication with us, kept communication, letting us know what was happening. And about a week ago, we got the final confirmation that, hey, it's gonna happen June 27th, 10:30 a.m. Jimmy's gonna be there, and we're like, oh my God, so Jimmy's like, hey, I need you to go up to the preserves, and we need you to take a look at the lots and see which lots you would like. Right away, we were already looking, and we were like, oh man, we want a cul-de-sac, we want a cul-de-sac. So once we got up here, we ended up looking, and Jimmy was like, hey, we have these lots, and we got Javier was walking us through the lots and telling us, hey, well, this is what Jimmy has planned for you. This is what his vision is for you. This is what he wants to see how that works for you. And so he drove us out to the lots, and we got to look at the lots, and we're like, oh my God, they're all beautiful. We were like, oh my God, we love them all.
We'll take them with me.
But we ended up with a beautiful lot 11, and Jimmy was like, yeah, this is how it's gonna look, and he talked to us and let us know how things were the process was gonna go. So fast forward to today, we come into the lot, and everybody
surprises again
with this amazing plan and the elevation of the house, and we're like, oh my God, that was the same elevation that my wife picked. And it was just like, they were like connected, and I was like, okay, this is awesome. Like we were just taken in again by surprise with the elevation and how much Jimmy has done for us and his family, and you know, the continued love and support that he gives us, and the amazing things that he continues to do for us, and even for other veterans. It's an amazing, it's just an amazing blessing that we have. And now we're just going to go through the process with Jimmy and go through the plans, and we're so excited to continue working with him and his family, and be able to just, you know, connect and get the vision out that he has for us. It's just one amazing blessing. And I mean, I am more than grateful. I think you are definitely still in shock.
Yes.
But we want to say thank you from the bottom of our heart. We are so blessed and feel the love that you and your family and the organization, the team, everybody, just, you guys are outstanding. Thank you so much.